It's good. Now we're being recorded. Look out. Hare Krishna. Okay, so thank you for joining us. And if anyone is listening to this recording in a year or a couple of years from now or a few months from now, then welcome. Thank you for tuning in to this discussion. So let's just I'm prepared today. Not as okay. Let's Mother Chandravali. You can read if you like.
Okay, I put it down from Vaishnav Ninda or criticism of a devotee. Is that where
Yeah,
we
but
are?
if you, how does the paragraph start?
An offender against the sadhu.
Okay, so you start from there. That's what this year. We're here then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. An offender against a sadhu is one who criticizes a Vaishnav about his caste, some unpremeditated accident and fall down, the last traces of his previous sins, or his sinful activities prior to his surrendering to Lord Krishna. This offender will never develop a taste for chanting the name. One who has taken complete shelter of a pure devotional process is considered a pure Vaishnava. The four above mentioned faults may be present in him, but he is totally free from all other shortcomings. Hence, criticizing him spells doom for the offender. The glories of the holy name are propagated by the Vaishnava. Lord Krishna does not tolerate any criticism against him. One may discard all other activities like religiosity, yoga, sacrifice, fruitive activities, empirical knowledge, and so on. If one simply chants the holy name, that is quintessence of spiritual culture.
The quintessence of spiritual culture.
Okay.
The
Okay,
essence.
the paragraph is, the sadhu takes complete shelter of the holy name. The real sadhu never criticizes demigods or other scriptures. He simply chants the holy name, regardless of whether such a sadhu is householder or a sannyasi. One should eagerly take the dust from his lotus feet. The purity of a Vaishnava is judged by how much attraction or rati he has for the holy name. It has nothing whatsoever to do with his official status as a Vaishnava or his wealth, erudition, youth, pleasing appearance, strength, or following. Therefore, one who takes shelter of the holy name must resign the propensity to criticize sadhus. Pure devotion.
Because we sinned. It means stop.
Stop the propensity to criticize sadhus. Pure devotion based on chanting is dependent on the mercy of a pure devotee and his unalloyed devotion. Without these two, everything will become perverted and spoiled. Bhakti resides at the first indication of sadhu ninda, which then becomes nam aparad. Let the aspirant devotee disapprove of sadhu ninda and serve and associate with the sadhus. Two types of bad association. The proper Vaishnava behavior is to avoid a satsanga or bad company that influences a person to disrespect the sadhu. Bad association is of two kinds. The first is association with women, which means either to have illicit connection with a woman other than one's wife, or to be excessively fond of one's own wife. The scriptures approve only a proper regulated relationship with one's wife. Keeping company with a licentious or hand-packed man also falls within this first category of asatsa sangha or bad association. Non-devotees are of three kinds. The second type of bad association is to mix with non-devotees. There are three kinds of non-devotees. The Mayavadi, Dharmadwaji, pretenders, or a Nirishwar, atheist. Mayavadis do not accept that the Supreme Lord's form is eternal. They say the deity form of the Lord is illusory or Maya, and that the Jiva is also a product of Maya. Dharmadwaji is a person who has no devotion or attachment in the heart, but makes a show of it externally. He wears the clothes of a devotee to accomplish materialistic ends. A Nirvishwara is a non-believer, an atheist. A serious aspirant or sadhaka must shun such bad association. If anyone argues that criticizing such non-devotees is sadhu ninda, his company must also be meticulously avoided. One has to keep away from bad association and take complete shelter of the holy name. Only then is love of Godhead ensured.
Let's pause there. Let's look at, yeah, another page, but there's quite a few details there about what association to avoid. So, any questions on this or?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Yeah, Rajkishore can go first.
Yeah, it says Nirishwar, a non-believer, atheist. But what if a member of a family is atheist? we can't break all the ties because the rest of the family will pounce on us. And if we keep the ties, then we get into this criticizing the saintly people slot. So what do we do then?
It's a good question. I would think we have to kind of take shelter of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how he explains what association means. Like the way you associate with your devotee friends, your devotee, your even those in your family member who are devoted to whatever degree, you're not going to be like that with your atheistic relative. You're going to be a little bit, you're not going to reveal your mind so much. You're not going to ask them questions on issues or values, So in that way, you kind of maintaining the protocol within a family, but you're not taking their association.
I see. Okay.
Same as when we go on book distribution and we have to meet people all day, and atheistic people. The principle is that we give association as much as we can in that time, but we don't we don't take their association, So you could bring up a very relevant point, I think, probably a few other devotees with us. So in that situation where you got family members who may be different degrees of an atheist or even Mayavadis. So you're going to associate with them in an official way, but like no more than that. You're not going to regularly invite them to your house, and you're going to keep a polite distance as though you get together at family functions. Does anybody else any?
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. You be polite and you show your best nature, like Krishna consciousness. Don't argue, and eventually they'll see, they're not going to argue with you because you will not argue back or anything like that,
Yeah, probably those of you who are taking part in this Sangha, you probably got more insight than me because I don't have that trouble. I don't have to worry about that. I'm a brahmachari, and most of my family, my immediate family members are all passed away, and I'm not quite a distance from my cousins and things like that. So, does that help, Rajkishore? Anything on that? Or?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. We just give our association, don't take theirs, when we have to keep our safe distance. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. That way, because otherwise it could disturb the family, as you could probably already understand. It wouldn't be right. And that would cause you to be disturbed, and that could disturb your bhajan,
Yes.
So you have to move we have to move with great intelligence in this world as devotees of the Lord. I think someone else said something. Oh,
Yes, Prabhu, I was just
Lavanga
wondering,
Lapsi.
yeah, what a henpecked man is, because most men would say they're henpecked. So
So say that again. You said I heard the first part.
a henpecked man
Yeah.
is asat sangha. So how would you define henpecked?
Well,
Because just means nagged. Yeah, somebody who's nagged by their wife or whatever.
it's interesting because Krishna is sometimes described. That's how he conducts himself in Dwarka as a henpecked husband. But I think sometimes it's described like as someone who is I don't know, kind of thing. Let me just look in the dictionary.
Harassed, maybe harassed by his wife.
Yeah, harassed. Yeah, perhaps his wife is perhaps more materialistic and is chastising him for devotional acts, or not allowing him to do devotional acts. So I suppose it could be the other way around as well. You got the wife who's a devotee and the husband who's not. But we're just trying to find it here. Yeah, proper behavior, the proper Vaishnava behavior is to avoid a satsang with bad company. Yeah, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a verse that describes one shouldn't associate with, one shouldn't associate loosely. One shouldn't associate with women.
Yeah, the definition of
or those controlled by women. So obviously for ladies, it's vice versa.
I think it's controlled because in the definition dictionary, it says continually criticized and given orders by one's wife or female partner. So I think that you're under control of a woman.
Yeah, so under control. Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
This is the advice of Haridas Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Yeah.
Well, normally it doesn't happen these days, but I can see the older generation where the marriages were arranged. Sometimes the boy hasn't got that much intelligence. So the girl has to make all the decisions, not because she wants to.
Because she has to.
She has to.
Yeah, so I think in this situation, it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of gray in it. It's not just like this or just like that. So there's all like the point that you're mentioning. Here's a particular situation where the wife is more materialistically together than the husband. If it wasn't for her decisions, then the household wouldn't run properly. So that's like in the gray area. So yeah. Yeah, things
would that person be a hand-packed husband then?
To some degree, yes. To some degree, no. Well, let's try to think. But the main essence here is that we have to protect our spiritual creeper. So like we have to be aware that some persons who we may associate with, it may have effect on our devotional resolve, whoever they may be, family members. Or for instance, here a henpecked man may be, not such good association for one's determination in Krishna consciousness. So we have to be discriminating is the word I think that we can use. And it may not be easy. It may not be. For instance, we may be in a situation where it's not very advantageous for our Krishna consciousness, but we can't do much about it. There's not much we can do about it. So we just have to pray to the Lord, and Krishna will protect us. And we can pray to the Lord, and that these guys next door shout. We can pray to the Lord that we can have a better association in the future. Can you hear that?
Yeah. I don't know how can you sleep even in like some
Well,
like,
it's not all the time,
oh,
thankfully. It's like once or twice a week. Hopefully, it's not.
I was thinking in that
Yeah.
comparison.
Anything else on this? I guess. Yeah. Please. I'm trying to.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, say a woman is handbag husband. So to a woman is quite emotional character, right? Women are not so strong. Where a man is supposed to be more stronger, like would think for his family, like better situated in spiritual life as well.
Yeah.
And if a man is handpacked, that means he's not so strong in spiritually as well, you know, because he's
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Lady, you know.
Yeah, I think so. I think Chandravali, I think she's giving us the answer here. That's probably why it's advised. Yeah.
Yeah.
That such a person is obviously not good association. You're not going to be very much inspired by that person to actually advance in spiritual life. You know?
Yeah. Because like from youngsters, I see like mine, they like 2 boys, 2 wives, they kind of work so nicely together, like in devotional service, or even bringing up kids and things like that. It's like decisions are made by both of them. So I was just like that. If you have a handbag husband or a wife who's not so strong, then it's quite difficult.
Could be one-sided, yeah.
Yeah. And you're not this way, they make proper decisions to go forward with the spiritual life or material things they need to do or whatever, you know.
Yeah, so how to organize their material life in such a way that they can still practice their spiritual life.
Activities, yes.
Yeah.
Bring kids up spiritually, yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else on this? Could be I can imagine it could be a big discussion. It could be a seminar on this, just this one paragraph here. I can imagine these days in our society, there's lots of talk on this type of thing. What does it mean? The wife, sometimes she's stronger, sometimes the husband is not, vice versa.
But it's quite difficult when the husband is not so smart to progress in your spiritual life as well, isn't it? Or even if you look at it materially, whatever.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Sometimes wives, they like to dominate, and that turns men into couch potatoes. That also happens. If you don't let them grow up like men, they will never grow up. So give them a chance, you know, perhaps. I've seen that happen.
Yeah, that's another side, yeah. They become just other guys that just couch potatoes.
I like that word, couch potato. Okay.
Have you heard that before?
No.
That's a Western term for someone who just like kind of merges out in front of the telly and sits in the sofa all day eating crisp.
Okay.
Because they think she'll do everything, you know. My wife, she's capable of everything. I don't have to do a thing. That happens all the time these days, you know.
Yeah. To sit back and it's not much like as a brahmachari for the last 32 years. I haven't got much. Can't really give any insight. Yeah. All right, let's just finish the end of this this chapter. So let's Mother Sachari, you like to read?
Yeah, thank you. The Kanishta Vaishnava, the neophyte devotee Kanishta Adhikari Vaishnava displays a faith that is formal, even worldly. He worships the deity but has not developed an interest in serving a Vaishnava sadhu. He is almost a Vaishnava but is not a real Vaishnava yet. Hence, he is not able to take his spiritual advantage of sadhu sangha. A neophyte will have to receive a pure Vaishnava's blessing to advance spiritually. The Madhyama Vaishnava. If a Madhyama Vaishnava, intermediate devotee, develops loving affection for Krishna, friendship with Lord Krishna's devotees, compassion for the innocent, and evades the company of atheists, he quickly becomes a pure devotee. He alone becomes eligible to chant the pure name. The Uttama Vaishnava, a pure devotee of the highest level, sees Lord Krishna manifest everywhere and knows that everything rests in him. Indeed, he sees that Lord Krishna is his life and soul. He is unconcerned with distinctions of who is a Vaishnava and who is not. His whole life revolves around the holy name. To him, the holy name is the essence of everything. Activities according to a Vaishnava status. A Madhyama Vaishnava is always engaged in serving sadhus. The Madhyama Vaishnava stage marks the beginning of pure Vaishnavism. He is required to distinguish the Vaishnava from the non-Vaishnava. Serving the pure Vaishnava is his necessity. If he neglects to differentiate among the grades of Vaishnavas, then he stands to commit Vaishnava aparadh. He has to continuously evaluate the Vaishnavas and serve the pure Vaishnava. The Uttama Vaishnava does not see any distinction whatsoever between a Vaishnava or a non-Vaishnava, or between enemy and friend. He then serve a Vaishnava? How will he then serve a Vaishnava? How will he distinguish a Vaishnava from the non-Vaishnava? The scriptures declare that a neophyte Vaishnava, one who is almost a Vaishnava, can chant in the stage of Namabhas, the clearing stage. A Madhyama Vaishnava is worthy of chanting the pure name. Therefore, he must always carefully avoid the offenses of Nama Aparadh. The Uttama Vaishnava can never commit any offense because he perceives Lord Krishna everywhere. Now, every sadhaka must consider that these points calmly and reflect upon his real position. First, he must stop sadhu ninda. Then he should chant with firm faith according to his status as a Vaishnava. It is therefore essential that he recognize his own position. The devotee's activities should center around association with sadhus, service to sadhus, the chanting of the holy name, and a constant attitude of compassion for all living entities. Remedies to sadhu ninda. If anyone offends a sadhu in a moment of delusion and madness, he must fall at the sadhu's feet and repent bitterly, weeping and full of contrition. He must beg forgiveness. He should declare himself a fallen wretch in need of a Vaishnava's grace. A sadhu is very merciful. His heart will soften and he will embrace the offender, thus exonerating him from his offenses. I offer this explanation of the first of 10 Nama Aparadhs at your lotus feet. One who is like a bumblebee attracted to the lotus feet of Srila Haridas Thakur will find the power of life itself in this Harinama Chintamani.
Okay, you could perhaps read a bit more, but let's just pause here. There's quite a few points, I think, even on the last section of that Mother Chandravali read, that we could pick up upon. But any specific questions about what we just read there? Okay.
Hare Krishna, can I ask?
Yes, please, Mother. Yeah.
Do we have to spend time deciding which devotee is a Kanishta Vaishnava and which one is a Madhyam Vaishnava?
Yeah. Yeah, I also noted that. I was thinking of that when we was hearing that. It is mentioned by Rupa Goswami. For instance, even when someone is even in the case of someone going forward for Diksha initiation, then it's advised that one use intelligent discrimination, like Guru Maharaj once described it. That's why it's not good to immediately take initiation upon an inspiration. It may be, but so therefore one will observe the spiritual master. And it's said there that one should be intelligent enough to choose a topmost Vaishnava, not a Kanishta. Although a Kanishta may be a spiritual master, may be Kanishta. But the point I'm making there is that in that regard, there has to be discrimination. So now how we do it is not like a deliberate, meditative, fault-finding mentality as such. Oh, this person's like this, and we're putting people into different categories of how much they're not advanced. That should not be our habit, and that should not be our vision. But if we are reading and studying about devotional service and about the symptoms of a Vaishnava, we will see it during the day. We will see it. It will naturally be there. You understand? And we should have that discrimination. Like you may see, for instance, with all due respect, you may see, for instance, so I know that some Prabhupada disciples who, I mean, he's passed away now, but he was my, I think, you know, Raghunath Prabhu, our dear Raghunath, passed away, but he was my Bhakta leader. So I called saying he's my Bhakta leader when I first joined, but he went off the rails quite a bit. So I naturally, so it wasn't as if I was looking for fault in him. That that wasn't my priority. But I had to obviously see that he wasn't in a good spiritual state. So I should adjust how I associate with him. I remember one time I saw him on Oxford Street, and I was distributing books, and he made some quite comments about, you know, about how there's Prabhupada's books have lost their potency because they've been edited. He was in that camp. So you understand? So I was confronted with that. So for me to not, and if I was to be naive or artificially try and act on the platform of Uttam and treat everyone the same and associate with him, regardless of him hearing criticizing his other God brothers, then as mentioned here, then that would be an offense on my behalf, and I wouldn't be able to chant the pure holy name. Yeah, someone who does that was mentioned. Someone who does not make that discrimination. Then, because some persons, they have this type of I've seen it sometimes in quote unquote devotees will have this kind of hippie outlook that everyone is one. You know, anyone in a temple, you shouldn't, you know, they don't make any distinctions. But actually we do have to make distinctions. Like within our community, for example, and those who come into the temple, then we have to make distinctions of those we're going to closely associate with and those who we're going to say Hari Bol. You understand? I'm not going to get into long conversations because we know in that conversation there's going to be exactly what we're describing here, sadhu ninda. So we have to tactfully, politely avoid places where we're going to end up having to get into conversation with them, because it's going to inevitably lead to sadhu ninda or ISKCON ninda. We have sadhu ninda, we have ISKCON ninda as well, as some person's occupation is to throw bombs at ISKCON and criticize ISKCON. So I kind of avoid those people. So you understand, but it's not like I'm moving around the temple looking for fault. You understand? It's just something which from reading and studying, it comes to you and you see it, and you have to observe it. Okay, this devotee is like this, he's been around many years, but you know, he's been around many years, he's just had a tattoo done on his tongue. He's got earrings going all over his. So he might, okay, I have to be a bit discriminating here. So you understand? So it's something which should be a natural discrimination in a sense of wanting to protect ourselves, not wanting to. So you understand the other position is where one is not, where one doesn't. It's all one, you know, everyone with a hand in their bead bag, or anyone who walks into the temple, you shouldn't make any discrimination before you should. No, we should choose who we're going to associate with and what quality of association we're going to have with those Vaishnavas. Does that help? No?
Yes, thank you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and here we're being taught, here we're being shown, here it was mentioned, I think it was mentioned that there may be someone who is, where was that? Someone who's a pretender. Yeah, someone who is making a show of being a devotee. He wears the clothes of a devotee to accomplish materialistic ends. So it means, yeah, so it means we have to see that. We have to observe that. But one thing we don't do is we don't make it our occupation to tell everyone what we think about this person. No, we don't do that. We don't create that type of batar within our Vaishnava society. But if there's someone we're preaching to or someone we're caring for, and we see that they're beginning to associate with such persons, then we may take our, the person we're mentoring aside and may give them some, perhaps advise them to perhaps be a little bit discriminating. You should be careful. Don't get too close. Yeah, Maharaj Maharaj would often say that the more advanced we are, then the more discriminating we are. Unless you come to it, then it's interesting because we're hearing about Uddam. They actually don't make any distinction, not from the point of being naive type hippie mentality, but because their level of advancement. And plus, anyone who they do associate with, who may not be good association with us, it's not going to affect them at all. If Uddam Adhikari is, happens to associate with someone who's not following or not, it's not going to affect them because they're so advanced. But for us, it could well affect us. Yeah. One of the ways it may affect us, back to some going on about this a bit, but for instance, if we have this, if we're overly associating with someone who's been around many years, but they're not following the regular principles, and they speak Krishna consciousness, they tell stories of Prabhupada, etc., then we're going to also, and they don't take transgression of the principles very seriously. Oh, it's just who I am, Prabhu. It's just where I'm at. Like I'm not a pure devotee. What can I do? I got this, I'm associated with this young lady. I'm just not a pure devotee. Oh, it's an amazing story of Prabhupada, it is. Then we're going to justify ourselves. Yeah, we're going to perhaps justify it in the same way. Does that mean something? Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me just find 1 second. Okay, Mr. Bhaktisiddhanta, you'll have to wait. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Okay, any other comments on that before I take up the whole show, so to speak, the whole thing? But I think you all probably do that anyway, isn't it? Naturally, you're going to observe different types of Vaishnavas, different types of Vaishnavis, and then you're going to associate accordingly. So we're being asked to make discrimination. Otherwise, we won't be able to chant the pure name. That's what he says here, this paragraph here. Yeah. And then, no, if we do follow this, then we can make eligible to chant the holy name. Yeah.
I mean, you don't really know what devotees are doing. I mean, I don't. So I don't really know, apart from like the devotees who are very, some devotees are very strict in the Bajari and everything. like all the devotees here are very strict, but generally speaking, people come in and they dress like devotees, they seem like devotees, but actually I don't know how they're practicing.
So that's good. That's good. Perhaps that's what's the say? In that sense, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's kind of innocent. But if we do happen to know, or we do happen to see, or we do happen to hear, then we can adjust the way we associate.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're not one. We shouldn't be. We shouldn't be overly paranoid about it as well. We shouldn't. I'm not going to look at that person. How do I know they're not following the regular principles?
Yeah. Yes. No,
But
you can be
so-
polite. You don't have to like get into deep conversations with
Yeah.
everyone at the temple, but
Yeah.
just like devotees that you may not know like how they're practicing, like just be a bit cautious maybe.
Yes, especially those who are like in the anti-GBC, not so because they're really anti-ISKCON, then you're going to avoid that type of person.
Yeah.
Or someone's got a chip on their shoulder, and every time you speak to them, they rage about.
They tend to like spread about all over the place. Like they might be in this camp, they might be in that camp, they come to ISKCON, and they're a devotee when they come to ISKCON, but when they go to the other place, they're probably fully in with them at that time. And then they go to the other place, they're probably like 100% with those people.
So they're he's not giving up. So their faith is kind of splayed out. So they're going to have a type of view on ISKCON that's not shared by us. They're going to have a type of view on Prabhupada that's not shared by us.
And then you have to like you have conspiracy theorists, like they think like, like, is the earth flat? Is it round?
Yeah, devotees. I know there's one of devotee who's Brahmachari. He's really got into this one, convincing everyone in ashram that the earth was flat.
Is that bad association?
Well, yeah. So there again, Mother Lavanga's bringing up an interesting point, because it's not exactly the person's still a sadhu, but he could sit down with them and spend hours wasting your time on whether the earth is flat or round. Because some devotees, they really get into things like this, and you could, before you know it, you spent 2 hours. So also we should be careful on our time, because time is very valuable. So yeah, it's interesting. You got cases like that, or some devotees have got issues with certain or conspiracy theories. So yeah, this is what it means to live in a community like we do. So we have to be a little bit discriminating. So so that's another point, is that there may be devotees who may not be blaspheming, but they may be speaking, for instance, they may be flat earthers. And they may take you on a whole sidetrack. I mean, you don't hear it so much now, but a few devotees, they really got into this 9/11 conspiracy theory. I mean, they really got into it really in a deep way. I mean, for me, I'm not going to speak about it now. I'm convinced it was done by the USA themselves. Now, I'm not going to speak about it anymore. But some devotees really got into it. I mean, really, it's been hours studying it. And also the latest thing is this COVID thing as well. There's some devotees who really got into this COVID thing and the conspiracy behind it. They got websites, they got these chats going on, and there's Prabhupada disciples on it. And I mean, I dipped into it a little bit, but I soon learned, okay, I'm not going to stay around here on this chat. I'm going to come out of it, because I could see I was going to go into a forest, So you got that as well. You got that side, devotees who really get into these issues. COVID is the latest. Now there's people's attention have gone somewhere else now. This war.
Now, what kind of devotees are they? Kanishta?
Yeah, yeah.
Like they haven't got it fixed up yet, you know.
Yeah, in
Like
other words, they
in their goal in their mind and then going towards that. Instead, they
yeah.
still
So they have to get a taste for something, but they've got a taste for the mundane world. Yeah, they haven't got so much a taste for Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. They get a taste. It's one of the aspects of this material energy. It's fascinating for the conditioned soul. So, but still, we have an overall appreciation of them being devotees.
yeah.
But like then we don't, you know, we may, I got caught out for a little bit. I was this Prabhupada disciple, I like know him to some degree, and I saw he had organized this big chat with another 3 or 4 devotees, and 2 of them were Prabhupada disciples, and they were going a whole thing about, you know, COVID and how the GVC is not doing this, and GVC is not doing that, and this and this and that. GVC has distance, and like that, and I wasted, I think, 25 or half an hour of my life watching it, and I thought, okay, that's it. I'm coming out of here. I'm going to get lost.
I'm just thinking. So these devotees, you know, when we're chanting, whatever we're thinking seems to manifest in a way, right? You know, when we're chanting, start thinking about different things. If those who thinking about, like if you're chanting and you're really meditating on your chanting and really trying to be serious, then you will make progress accordingly, right?
Yeah.
So that when these other devotees are kind of a little bit deviating, they also then when they're chanting, to me, I'm thinking that they must have a bit of this other kind of things going in their head as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point that you're bringing up. Basically, I think it's mentioned it, and it will be mentioned here at the end, that the root of all aparads is inattentive chanting.
Yeah, you see how we chant from
if
that.
One,
yeah, sorry.
If one is grossly, constantly being inattentive in a chanting, all these different weeds will come up. And one of those weeds will be attraction to the goings on in this world and being absorbed in it. You know. Yeah, very good point.
In one way, we still kind of attached to the material world in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of Krishna Gata, it's COVID Gata, as you say.
Yeah. Instead of trying to get spend on Krishna and like whatever's coming, okay, it's coming. Be aware of it, but don't have to get into too many things, you know. Be aware of it, yes. Right. And then just try and chant and things will improve your mind.
I think it's good, as Mother Lavanga noted, in one sense, have a bit of a disposition of innocence, you know, is that don't have to analyze people so much, but when things come to our note, we're just getting on with our devotional service, you know. And if things come to our attention, then we adjust accordingly. Otherwise, we just carry on.
Yeah, because even when we are talking to devotees that we know, you know, okay, now this is going to lead this way. You can't tend to know where is this conversation going to lead. So you then have to readjust yourself and like not get into that kind of conversation, because you know this is going to lead there. You just kind of turn it around and then politely, okay, go to something else or something. So you know how when we work with devotees, how we have to behave as well. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So this is what we do, for sure, all of us here, and this is what we're reading as well. We're being asked to be somewhat discriminating. Yeah. All right. Should we venture into the next chapter? Yep. I think Mother Sachari, you only read a couple of pages, so if you like, you can read a couple of pages here. So
considering the demigods,
go on,
considering the demigods independent of Krishna, All glories to Lord Sri Gauranga, the life of Sri Gadadhar Pandit. All glories to Sri Lord Nityananda, the heart of Srimati Janavi Devi. All glories to Sri Advaita Acharya, the Lord of Mother Sita. All glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. The principle of the Supreme Godhead Vishnu. Srila Haridas Thakur continued speaking with folded hands. O Lord of the universe, now I pray that you may listen to my explanation of the second offense against the holy name. Lord Vishnu is the supreme, non-different from the absolute truth. He is the Lord of the universe and the possessor of a transcendental body that is always situated in pure goodness. Lord Krishna, the master of Goloka, is the essence and source of Lord Vishnu. Krishna is embellished with 64 extraordinary excellences. He is the repository of all transcendental mellows. Lord Narayan possesses 60 of those qualities and to a lesser degree of fullness than him. So do Lord Vishnu and the Purusha avatars. Lord Narayan, the Lord of Vaikuntha, is Lord Krishna's Vilasa Vigraha or partial expansion. In Vaikuntha, Sankarsana expands as Mahavishnu, who lies in the causal ocean. This is the first Purusha expansion. The next Purusha expansion is the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the source of Lord Brahma. He enters every universe as the Purusha Avatara. He further expands as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, the super soul within every living entity. These three Vishnus are the Purusha expansions. Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is the source of the incarnations like the fish, Matsya, tortoise, Kurma, etc. All these incarnations are forms of the Vishnu principle of the Supreme Godhead and are ornamented with 60 transcendental characteristics. The Sakyavishera avatars are Jivatma in whom the potency of the Lord descends. They are the Lord's separated expansions of Vipinamsa and are exemplified as Paras, Parashurama, Buddha, Prithu, and so on. The Supreme Lord separated parts of Vipinamsa are of two categories. Ordinary Jivas possesses only the first 50 of the Lord's 64 transcendental characteristics, and these in minuscule quality. But in the second category of Jivas, including demigods like Lord Shiva and others, the same 50 characteristics are found in full potency. Additionally, the next 5 qualities are partially evident. However, these 5 qualities are exhibited in full potency only by the Vishnu category. Thus, only the Vishnu Tattvas are adorned to the fullest degree with the first 55 qualities of the Lord. They furthersome display a degree of the next 5 qualities for a total of 60. These 5 qualities are visible in absolute fullness in Lord Narayan alone. Thus, Lord Shiva and all the demigods are the Supreme Lord Vishnu's servitors. Though the demigods are superior Jivas, the Supreme Lord Vishnu is the master and controller of the Jivas and demigods alike. Equating the Lord with the demigods is ignorance. People who are ignorant of Vishnu Tattva principle of the Supreme God try to equate the Supreme Lord with the demigods. Lord Shiva and all the other demigods are the order carriers of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Mayavadis say that impersonal Brahman is formless, whereas Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu, the 3 predominating deities of the 3 material modes, ignorance, passion, and goodness, respectively, have forms. The scriptures unequivocally declare that Lord Brahma creates the material world and Lord Shiva destroys it. But Lord Narayan or Vishnu, the maintainer, is the eternal worshipable Lord. Whoever worships other demigods and disregards Vasudev, the Supreme Lord Narayan, rots eternally in the hell of material existence. Some persons argue that since Lord Vishnu is accepted as the all-pervading absolute truth in the Vedas, the Lord is present in all the demigods. Therefore, the worship of the demigods is equivalent to the worship of Lord Vishnu. This argument is fallacious. The scriptures do not support the notion that the worship of the demigods is the same as the worship of Lord Vishnu. In truth, Lord Vishnu's worship accomplishes the worship of all the demigods. Hence, separate worship of the demigods is not required.
Okay.
The
perhaps
correct
we can
interpretation.
Stop there. Pause there. And we'll perhaps next. Robert Kishore could read for the last few minutes. But any questions on this? This is probably for those of you or whose ancestry or come from India, you're probably more familiar with this misconception. It's basically all pervading in India, where all the gods. Sometimes I kind of notice that when some persons come to the temple and say hi, and they say, "When can I see the god? When can I see the god?" I always find it strange when people say that. I've come to see the gods. I mean, that means they're probably in this school, it's all one, No, and this is coming from Nectar of Devotion, a lot of this, some of this, isn't it? Different qualities that are in Vishnu and in the Jiva, and different expansion, different from also Chaitanya Charitamrita is described by Sanatana Goswami, Vishnu Tattva, and then the Jiva Tattva. So there is distinctions between the Supreme Lord and the demigods, with a small d, gods with a small g. There's God with a big G and there's God with a small g. So there's differences. Yeah. So if someone is chanting the holy name and they're in this misconception, they're not going to get the fruit, definitely, which is Krishna Prema. Prabhupada, there's also, who's that name of that well-known saintly person, sadhu in India? Apparently he got love of Krishna from Durga. Durga revealed love of, he was worshipping Durga. Who's that?
Ram Krishna
Paramahamsa.
Yeah, that's his, but Prabhupada speaks directly against that, doesn't accept it. Yeah, none of the demigods are, except we hear, Lord Shiva is not a demigod, he's in a category of his own, and in a position of being a great devotee, spiritual master, he can direct persons to Krishna Prema, but not the demigods.
What about Hanuman?
Hanuman?
No.
Yeah, he's a great servant of the Lord, so he's a great advanced devotee.
Yeah.
So he can direct and he can bless us. By his blessings, we can obtain devotion to Vishnu. Whether he can give us devotion to Krishna, I don't know. He can definitely give us devotion to Ram.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, so we see him as a devotee, just like we can a very, very advanced devotee as well, in a mood of servitorship to Lord Ram. So we can pray for him. We pray for his blessings. He's there at the manor. Yeah.
Dharma Prabhu said he's the topmost brahmachari.
Yeah. Topmost brahmachari. And that's pretty good for a monkey, because monkeys are not known for being very much self-controlled, especially when it comes to the sensual part. So it's pretty exceptional for being a vanara. Yeah. Him and who's a Bhishma, Grandfather Bhishma, also known. Yes, so Hanuman didn't have any monkey wives. He was just only service to Lord Ram, nothing else. All right, Maharaj Kishore, you want to just finish, take us for the next 3 or 4 minutes?
Okay, Hare Krishna. The correct interpretation of the Vedic truth is this: if Lord Vishnu is omnipresent, then worship of him is automatically worship of all the demigods. By watering the roots, the tree prospers. By watering the limbs, leaves and branches, the tree withers and dies. Foolish people who forget the Vedic principles commit this mistake. Because their vision is perverted, they worship certain demigods according to their mentality. They are ignorant of the Vedic injunction that worship of Lord Vishnu is an eternal activity in pure goodness, beyond the 3 material modes. Due to the advent of Kali Yuga and the contamination of impersonalism, people have become polytheist and have disregarded the supreme position of Lord Vishnu. Individual demigods can offer only limited benefits, while the Supreme Lord Vishnu alone can offer all benedictions. He is the maintainer of everyone. If only these greedy materialists would realize the advantage of worshipping Lord Vishnu, they would abandon all demigod worship. A householder Vaishnava's responsibilities. A household devotee of Lord Vishnu or Krishna must worship the Supreme Lord Krishna on all occasions and be free from doubt. He is not required to perform ablution or other fruitive activities. The Vedas recommend the worship of Lord Krishna and his devotees. In worshipping forefathers and demigods, he should offer them garlands from the deity of Lord Krishna. If, on the other hand, the household devotee performs the Shraddha ceremony according to the Mayavadi's method, or he worships other demigods, then he commits a heinous offense. To impose some dualistic concept on the Supreme Lord Vishnu is a namaparad and disqualifies one from the path of pure bhakti. A serious namaparad is to consider demigods like Lord Shiva to be separate, supreme divinities. Polytheism is a grievous offense. Lord Vishnu is a supreme Godhead, but Lord Shiva and other demigods are also individually supreme. This idea is incorrect. One can, however, worship the demigods as Gunavatar, Shaktavesh Avatar, or as Lord Vishnu's servants. No one is independent of the Supreme Lord's control, for he is a supreme controller and master of all energies. Demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Lord Ganesh, or the sun god have been invested with the Supreme Lord's potencies. Hence, they are powerful. The Supreme Lord is one, the rest are his energies. The householder devotee should abandon outright all materialism in the execution of his duties. He should increase his mood of pure devotion.
Okay, perhaps we'll pause there for today. It's just 6 o'clock. Any closing comments on this? As serious, I think we may have picked up on that point. It's a very, what it said, a very serious, grievous offense. Yeah. For instance, to engage in, to do the Shraddha ceremony as the Mayavadi school, heinous offense. If you want to be convinced about the or what can I say? There's one book, I mentioned it before, by Gopal Bhatta Goswami. It's called Sat Kriya Saridipika. And it's an outline of the samskaras for those on the path of pure devotional service. So the rites of family life, of passage, you know, the samskaras that's done. And it's presented in such a way that it doesn't compromise one's complete dependence upon Vishnu. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami has explained all the details of the samskara, but he's put all the names of Vishnu and his expansions there. And in the introduction, he brings out all these verses which describe more or less, especially for a Vaishnava, to engage in the worship. He said it's quite strong, I think, perhaps to warn us away. It is, one shouldn't even look at a demigod. He said there's verses like that. You shouldn't even look at a demigod. If a Vaishnava, it gets quite extreme. But anyway, if anyone starts asking you about, is it okay to worship demigods as separate from Krishna, then if you read this, you can be quite convinced you better not go there. Because we're supposed to be completely dependent on Krishna. So if we have this worship of other demigods, we're asking there for protection, asking for their benedictions and protection. That means we're not putting all our faith in Krishna. We can pray to them like the gopis did to get Krishna's mercy. That's fine. Okay. All right, so we finished, where did we finish? We finished
I'm
here.
thinking what would happen to all these Indian families who are like demigod worshippers. You know, you go to these temples and they all along all different demigods and saints and.
Well, what's not going to happen is that they're not going to get Krishna prema. They're going to be doing the same thing in the material world for billions of lifetimes.
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
You know. So, which paragraph did we leave off? Was it here?
Paragraph. Okay,
Last one.
human
Last paragraph.
society.
Society.
Yeah, human society.
Oh, here. We're starting here. Next one, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
The next following one.
Next one. So over the page. Oh yeah, here. Yeah, let's see. We're here. So keep the bookmark there, and I'll highlight this. Okay. So thank you, everyone. We'll be hearing and chanting. The next session will be next Wednesday because I'll be back on Tuesday night. I just found out today. So let's look forward to Krishna Guitar next Wednesday. Okay.
Next Wednesday. Oh, Harinam Chintamani. Okay, so we go back.
Yeah. We'll be back on Harinam Chintamani again next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you all for joining us for this Harinam Chintamani. I hope it was of interest. And we had a nice discussion there on using intelligent discrimination in order for us to advance. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.